Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today I've got a few things to show, and most importantly, there is something that I need to make right. Hey there, welcome back. So, as creators, as YouTubers, in the many videos, myriads of videos really that we make, I have almost 1,000, we have a lot of takes. And sometimes those takes are great, other times those takes are a little average, but there are situations in which those takes are really bad or they are incorrect. Now, one thing that I notice some YouTubers do sometimes is that it doesn't matter if they're proven wrong, it doesn't matter if what they said is inconsistent, incoherent, particularly after you have seen data that sort of debunks you, they will still defend it no matter what. I don't ever want to become a person like that, mostly because I'm not a kid, I'm a man, and therefore if I say something and it is wrong, then I have no problem saying that I was wrong. And this is one of those cases. So, there is a channel, let me show you. There we go, that I've been very critical of, and it's the channel Vanity Fair. Now, this is not an apology video to Vanity Fair at all. I still think their content is absolute garbage, and it's horrible, absolutely awful. I stand by that. And one of the reasons why I say that is because among their many playlists, they've got one about experts reacting to all sorts of movies, films, video games, and whatnot. As you know, I have made 3 videos covering Vanity Fair and their content, where I've been very critical of what they do and what they show and the sort of stuff and messages that they push, and also the incorrect history and mythology that they have shown. But on video number 3, which is this one here called Vanity Fair is a Complete Joke, I was mostly reviewing this playlist where they have experts reacting to stuff. Now, as you can see on my thumbnail, there are 3 personages, and these are some of those experts that are featured in that playlist that I was reviewing. Now, one of them is of course this New York professor that I've already addressed several times. I still stand by everything I said about him in my previous videos. That hasn't changed. Then there is the vampire expert. Yep, I'll make a video about her. But then there is this man here. He is the person that I think I should apologize to because I completely misjudged him. So I'd like to rectify that. Let me show you what I mean. Now, one thing about me is that I probably have a bit too many hobbies, but what can I say? I love collecting medieval armor, I love collecting retro games and playing board games and painting and assembling and playing with miniatures. But one of the characteristics of all the hobbies that I have is that because I'm a nerd, I don't want to leave my home, so they all happen in the house, which is one of the reasons why I never really picked up fishing. But maybe that thing is gonna change. Let me introduce you to the kind sponsor that made this video possible, Fishing Clash. If you love fishing but you would rather do it from the convenience of your own home, you're gonna love this game because Fishing Clash lets you catch a huge variety of different fish from locations all across the world. Moreover, the game is completely customizable. In fact, you can customize and upgrade your own gear, equipment, and you can build your own fishing village. Fishing Clash also has a community aspect to it in the sense that you can interact, cooperate, and compete with other players, and you can even make your own clan. In fact, how about we make a clan? What are we gonna name it? How about Crusader Fish? I'm gonna go for Crusader Fish. Anyways, if you wanna give it a try, go to fishingclash.link/Metatron or use the QR code, or alternatively click the link in the description below. And don't forget to use my special code Metatron to get a $20 value reward, including a unique avatar, for free. And don't forget to follow Fishing Clash on Instagram or Facebook to keep updated with the news. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below and use my code Metatron to get a $20 value reward. Let me know what kind of fish you're going to catch, and as always, massive thanks to Fishing Clash for sponsoring my video. Alright, so on this video at about 15 minutes mark, almost 16 minutes mark, after I have reviewed a lot of, honestly, terrible videos, I run into a specific one. Let me show you.
Former jewel thief reviews famous heist movies from Ocean 11 to... Oh, this is gonna be great. I gotta watch it.
This is Larry Lawton, and he's an ex-jewel thief.
Not thief, I was a robber. Thief sounds like you went in that person's house and robbed it. I just went with a gun right to their face.
Larry.
Great. What the heck?
Larry's a former career criminal, once considered the biggest jewel thief in the United States.
In 7 years, I robbed between $15 and $18 million and then served 12 years in federal prison.
I think we can start talking about it a little bit. So, Larry Lawton. Who is Larry Lawton? Okay, so Larry Lawton has a YouTube channel with 1.4 million subscribers. I hadn't heard of him before this encounter through Vanity Fair, to be honest with you. But yes, he makes a lot of content where he talks about all sorts of things. But the reason why I was saying that I was unfair to him is because whenever they introduced him as being one of the most successful jewel thieves in the United States, I believe in the 80s or 90s, something like that, and then they were going to have him review the robberies to see if they were, I suppose, done right, that kind of rubbed me wrong, and I judged him because of that. And that is something that I think was not right of me, because at the end of the day, that is exactly what some people do with me, and it really, really annoys me. So it's hypocritical of me to do the same thing. What I mean by that is that, for example, I'm a history, civilization, and culture channel. Therefore, people will ask me questions, not only about like, hey, what did this shield or this helmet look in ancient Rome and in the classical period during the Principate and the reign of Emperor Augustus, but sometimes people do ask me questions that pertain to, for example, ethnicity. And so they will ask me, hey, I watched another video that said that Hannibal was black. Was Hannibal actually black, or is it different? So what I do is that I respond to people's questions, because I don't think there is, when it comes to history and in general, there isn't really any stupid question. There aren't questions that you're not supposed to ask. Of course, very much will depend on where the question comes from, but generally speaking, these questions do not come from a place of racism, like some people say, but they come from a place of historical curiosity, and there is nothing wrong with that. If anything, curiosity is what we need to ignite in our students. And I say that as a former school teacher. Therefore, when they ask me this question, I review it with my team. As you know, I have an anthropologist with a postdoctorate, I have a historian, I have several PhDs behind me, that we all sit down, apart from my own personal degree in history and languages, we put together a team and we review the evidence, and then we will make a video. And of course, if the evidence points to the fact that yes, Hannibal in this question, or for example, Septimus Severus, if the evidence points to the fact that yes, he was black, we will say it, but if it doesn't, then we will say that too. But some people do see the thumbnail or see the title of these videos where I ask the question, was X person black or was he white, and they say, oh, this guy's probably racist, and they say don't even give me a chance to see, because if they did watch the video, they would see that it's just academic curiosity and it's professionally made. But that's what I did with him. So I think it's very hypocritical of me to do that, and therefore I looked him up and I watched quite a few of his videos. So one thing that I have to rectify is the following. Larry Lawton has a lot of content where he sort of approaches the idea of crime and criminology from the perspective of a motivational speaker. What that means is that what he does, and he's done a lot of work towards that, is that he tries to work with youth that are at risk. So kids that maybe were brought up in a really, really difficult situation, or maybe they were brought up in an area or had the wrong friends, a difficult upbringing, if you will, and so they are potentially at risk when it comes to sort of engaging in a criminal life, and he tries to talk them out of it, and he does that through personal experience, motivational speech, videos, his books. He goes to talk to students at schools. He works together with law enforcement. I kind of want to show that. There we go. He works, as you can see, as a law enforcement consultant. Another thing that he does, prison expert. So he talks about some of the difficult things and how horrible it is to live in prison for 12 years in his case. And in a way, I do believe that that can work as a form of deterrent, in the sense that he's definitely helping a lot of kids who may have gone the wrong way, because he said, hey, I'm turning my life around. I made some really horrible choices. This is how bad prison is. And then that really helps. And as you can see, Larry Lawton is the only ex-con in the US to be sworn in as an honorary police officer, and the only ex-con to be recognized on the floor of the United States Congress for helping young people, families, and law enforcement agencies. So, in other words, I have to admit I was absolutely wrong, and I misjudged him when I was pretty much bringing up the idea of why are they even giving a platform to this man. Now, given if this was a situation where, for example, I don't know, not too long ago we had the horrible school shooting in Nashville, if the shooter had survived, I don't care how many years they spend in prison, no platform should ever be given to that person. When you do something like that to kids, no, you're gone. But someone like him who turned his life around and is helping so many people and youth at risk, absolutely. So, Larry, if you're watching this, I apologize for having misjudged you, and I hope you don't take it personally. With that out of the way, however, I do still have something to say that kind of concerns me when it comes to a few videos that he has made. So I'm still going to speak my mind, because I can't just help but notice that there are some videos, not all the videos, but there are some videos where he presents a message which is very entertaining. So the entertainment factor is fantastic, but I do still think it might be dangerous. And if I'm wrong, you as an audience are more than happy to consider this a discussion. Let me know in the comments and tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why, in my mind, when I watch the videos that we're going to check together now, why I still feel a little uncomfortable when I watch them. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But as of now, perhaps also from the perspective of an educator, I'm still looking at some of these videos and they're a little, I don't know about that. So let's have a look at that. Also, Larry, on that video, you said you were not a thief, you were a robber, and you were correcting Vanity Fair. Great, do that every day, all day, correct Vanity Fair. But then again, I don't know if you were joking. Was it like satire? Because I mean, you do have at Larry Lawton Jewel Thief as like, you know, the main, and Jewel Thief is written on your banner. So I suppose you were joking there. I don't know. I'm terrible at understanding trolling these days. Anyways, I chose two videos to present my point. The first video I'd like to review is this one here. I robbed this store 25 years ago. So he goes back to the store and kind of tells you how the situation happened. And there is something he says towards the middle of the video that was a little concerning to me. I'll show you in a second. And then the other one is actually down here because he has got a playlist where he plays video games. It's mostly GTA 5 for what I could see. I mean, pertinent, I suppose. But then again, there is one video in particular that got him 7.5 million views that he produced 4 years ago. As you can see by the little red bar at the bottom, I watched the whole video before I actually decided to talk about it. And here as well, when he's reviewing the actual jewel robbery that occurs during the game. Of course, I played the game, I'm familiar with it. There are a couple of things that he says that Okay, so here we are. Let's check out this section here first. Let's go.
We're gonna wait for that car. And another important aspect of a robbery is knowing when the mailman is coming. At what time is the mailman gonna ride by this store and drop off the mail? You wanna know that. You don't want to just be caught, you know, when he's coming up and he sees what's going on, he immediately...
So as you can see, he's explaining to us the best way to do a robbery in this case, because of course he's a pro. He had a lot of success, became a multimillionaire for what I understand before he got caught. And one of the things he's saying now is that, yeah, that the mailman, you want to know when the mailman turns around, so you don't want that to just happen. And then he sees you as you are going through the thing. That's first thing he says.
He notifies the authority, and now you're on a race. Because the object of these robberies was never to have to race out of there. You went, you moved all along your way, but you got out and you got on the road before anybody knew what happened. No one knew your car, nobody knew anything. You had a fake plate on the car. So you got...
So now we're talking first, figure out the mailman. Now he's telling us about the fake plate, number plate on the car. Something that, for example, I would have never thought to do.
An area, usually on 95, a rest stop, and you switch plates. Now you're a legal car, your stuff is in the trunk. Nobody knows anything. You're just going to New York. I mean, you could even be stopped. It didn't matter. And within 24 hours, even from here, Savannah, Georgia, within 24 hours, all the jewelry was gone.
Okay, so let me comment on that. So, as you can see, of course he knows how robberies were done, and he is kind of providing a certain educational factor when it comes to that. So, from an educational standpoint, I find that very, very interesting. And how, for example, movies and video games sometimes recreate these scenarios in a very unrealistic way. And of course, he is the guy that you want to ask to know, yeah, but was that actually done? Is that how you do it? So, I understand the both educational aspect of this and the entertainment aspect of it, but then again, the video got 2 million views. So my concern with this is, how do we know that within those 2 million viewers, or 7.5 million viewers when it comes to the GTA 5 video, which works on the same lines, I'll show you in a second, how do we know that there isn't like someone who is, that there are 3 people out of 7 million and 500 plus 2 million, 9 million, almost 10 million people? How do we know there aren't like 5 people that are actually gonna say, hey, I want to do that? Like actual criminals, but they don't know what they're doing. So they're like kind of starting out. They would have made that mistake about the plate or not checking the mail, but now they're taking notes because they're listening to someone who was a pro and knows what he's talking about, and now they're not gonna get caught. How do you know, statistically speaking? I don't know what the statistics are. I have no way to study that, but I'm just saying, if it could happen that someone will follow this advice, and there is a lot of advice like this on the channel, I watched several videos, what if they don't get caught? thanks to this advice. That is the part that I find a little concerning. I'm not saying that that's the reason why he's doing it. He's doing it because, I mean, again, we have demonstrated already that this guy wants nothing but helping youth not to do this. So at the same time, Larry, if you're watching this, my question is, how do you reconcile the idea of all the work that you've done that I think is fantastic and very respectable to help youth not to do that, with videos where you're literally telling us the, I want to say, most effective suggestions, advice, and tips on how to actually do perform a successful robbery? I'm not saying that's why you are doing it. Absolutely not. I actually don't believe that that's even crossing your mind. I think you're just sharing it because you're like, hey, they're doing it wrong. I know how this was done, so I'm going to share it. But how do you reconcile with that? Let me show you the GTA aspect so you'll see where I'm coming from. So far, advice on the mailman, advice on the fake plate, and then switch it, when to switch it, how to switch it, and why, and how that helps. Check this one out.
Okay, everyone, I'm here to review the GTA 5 jewelry heist scene with...
I love how the character looks exactly like him. Now, this is not him playing. I think someone else is playing and then is watching it, but I thought that was cool.
Michael and his crew, and there's two scenarios here, so I'm going to review them both. I understand it's a game, but I am, to this day, considered the biggest jewel robber in the United States, and I'm going to tell you how I would have did it, and what the game might have did a little bit off, or how they can improve the game, and how you can maybe play it better and
yeah, that's what I mean. Like the way he's saying how they can improve the game, because this is not how I would have done it. This is how I would have done it, so to make the game more realistic. I'm all for that. I'm all for making a game more realistic. But at what, where do we put the line or demarcation between? Maybe you don't want to say that one because it could actually potentially help a criminal get away with it, which is of course not what he wants. He specifically said here it's to make the game more realistic, but I think we do need to place a line in there, and is this line placed in the correct area? I think for him the line is, of course, I've already told so many people, don't do this, it's horrible, prison life is terrible, this is what happens, get your lives put together. So he has already done that, and that's true. I think to him that's enough as a bar, and then he just tells us how things were actually done. But I believe the bar is a little too low. I think the bar should be raised a little bit, and here is why. Check this out.
There's no talking at all in a robbery. Everyone has a job and knows what to do. Use names. They said, names are never even used. The less even talking, the better. You don't want them to know your accent. You don't want them to know anything about you. You might slip and say anything. Okay,
so this is, again, it's a very good point. You don't want them to hear your accent during a robbery, so say nothing. Worst case scenario, just say go, and that's it. But it's not done. It's not, there is more.
This is their case. He walks into the walls, too. That's pretty good.
I do that sometimes. I walk into a wall.
Keep up with the old crew?
Now, after your death/disappearance...
They got the technology to be talking to each other through an earpiece, so they got technology so they wouldn't have to do what they're doing. You can find all this information literally in the city ordinance or the city codes or anywhere.
There were liquor stores
and even while he's casing this place, he doesn't have any gloves on. He doesn't have any kind of something on him that once the cops figure out how they did it, they're going to go, he just runs into the wall. That was hilarious. Well, he gets there and he keeps looking around, and he runs up this ladder and his fingerprints the whole way up. They're going to check everything on a big enough score. You got to actually case this place like you're robbing it and make sure you don't leave anything behind.
Okay, so I think I kind of rest my case there, Your Honor. Okay, so I think I kind of proven my point in there. Not that I am right, but just to show you where I'm coming from, both for my audience, for people in his audience, and for Larry himself. So as you can see, there is some actual advice, but a lot of the stuff that he said is not obvious. I would have never thought it. Imagine someone who just wants to try, but they don't know what they're doing. They're most likely going to get caught because they might make mistakes like that. And this is why I find this specific type of content among all the different types of videos that he makes. I haven't watched the other kind of videos except for the motivational ones, and I watched a little bit the ones where he talks about his book. I watched the videos where he talks about prison and all the things that happen, and he made some some really good points. For example, the fact how there is some violence from the guards in prison, and he's like, some of these people are innocent. It's not right that you treat people like this. Like, he made some really good points that I think are very valid, and this sort of attention and understanding should be raised, and he is absolutely the one to do that. The videos that sound like advice, even if he doesn't mean them like that, which is once again what I believe. If I was a guy or wanted to try something like this, I would watch every single video this guy has ever made where he specifically tells you, don't do that, that's stupid, do this instead. That's not what we did. When we did it, we actually did it this way because it's a lot more effective, because real people, that's how you get caught, that's how you don't get caught, and that sort of discussion. I would just do a massive playlist of that myself. Like, I would put all the links and then take down as many notes as possible to minimize the possibilities of the robberies go wrong. Once again, when we're talking about 50 people, when we're talking about 1,000 people, that's a much smaller pool that you pull from, excusing the pun. But when we're talking about millions of people, just 2 videos got 10 million clicks, and then if you add, it adds up. All of the content like this, all together with all the views, maybe I'm exaggerating the numbers, but even if it's like 20 million people, that's reasonable since just 2 videos got 10 million. If it's 20 million people, what are the statistical chances that there will be some people in there that will take all of this advice, because it is advice at the end of the day, learn from it, plan their robbery very well thanks to it, and get away with it? That is why I find it a little concerning. If I'm overreacting or if I'm not seeing something here, please let me know. If this is instead information that it's already extremely easily available everywhere in the internet and it really doesn't make any difference, then let me know. But because, once again, this was a freaking mastermind, that this guy was like as good as it gets in the, as far as I understand, in the 90s, 80s, whenever it was, then I think, is there really so much condensed information into one place that is so easily accessible and comes from such a high level source that people have access to, and unfortunately those people cannot be neither checked nor monitored in any way, shape or form, since this is the internet we're talking about, so anyone can watch anything, and good luck finding them if then they are going to do something that is in fact illegal. I was wrong to judge the guy. He did a lot of good stuff, a lot of good work, and I absolutely respect him for that. I think if all ex-con did this, I mean, we would live in a much better society. This seems to be one of those cases where, yes, he did turn his life around and he learned from his mistakes. He made mistakes. He would have definitely had a much better life if he had never gone through that when he was young. With that being said, he did turn his life around, and I respect him for that, and he's helping law enforcement, he's helping the youth, he's going around doing motivational speak, and so I do believe that if we put it on a scale, with his videos, he has done a lot more good than he has done any bad. But I do believe that there is some danger in here, particularly with the videos that do provide a certain level of advice. I did want to raise still the overall problem that I had with this, even in the first place, even when I misjudged him. I still think that the main point was valid when I brought forth the possibility of this being somehow or somewhat dangerous, depending on who is watching. What do you think about that? Please let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Also, don't forget to take advantage of the amazing offer Fishing Clash has for you, and click the link in the description to make use of my special code Metatron. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.